So you're looking to make a move from Texas to Tacoma, Washington. Well, if you're tired of cowboys and 120-degree summers, this video is gonna be just for you. In this video, we're gonna break down several of things that you really need to take into consideration before you pack up from the Lone Star State and move out to the Evergreen State. And we're getting after it right now. Hey, hope you're having an absolutely amazing day. My name is Austin Robertson, and Chris, myself, and our team, we're getting phone calls, text messages, and emails every single day from people just like you looking to get out of Texas and move up here to Washington State. And we absolutely love it. So whether you're looking at moving in 9 days or 90 days, shoot us a phone call, a text, an email, or let's set up a Zoom so that we can make that smooth move to Tacoma. Right there is a QR code that you can click on that will connect you right with me. All right, well, if this is your first time ever to our channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Tacoma, the good, the bad, what it's like to work here, what you do for fun, eating, drinking, sleeping, playing, just literally anything about Tacoma, hit that subscribe button and like this video so that you can be the first one in the know about what's going on right here in our local market. All right, so the first thing that I think you'll need to be aware of is you're moving from a red state to what I call a purple state. Yes, the West Coast has known for a long time for being very, very liberal, but Washington, once you get outside the Cascades, is predominantly farmland. And while land does not vote, I can tell you that there is a fantastic mixture of conservative and liberal ideals here in Washington. Now, where you're used to having a very conservative set of politics in Texas, when you get out here, one of the major differences as someone that relocated from the Midwest that I can tell you is we really don't get too much into other people's politics. Not that it's considered rude to talk about it like it might be in the South, but here we let people live the way they want to live. So if you want to be more on the left side, great. Just don't push it on other people. And if you want to be more on the right side, great. Just don't push it on other people. One of the best things about Washington is that it's super open-minded, not only in politics, but in life in general. If the too far to the right has been something that has been bothering you, then the switch out here to Washington will be a huge blessing. But if it's something that you're hoping to hold on to really tight, might make you second guess your move out to Washington State. When it comes to cost of living, living in Texas has a much lower cost of living than it does here at Tacoma, and we're about to get into that. But taxes in Texas are so much higher. In fact, the state of Texas has the 11th highest effective tax rate in the entire nation. In fact, the effective tax rate in Texas is about 12.79%. And it also has a higher real estate tax at 1.8%, where the average in Washington is about 1.25%. Now, both states do let you get out of paying that income tax, which is super sweet. But even leveling that out, you're still gonna pay less taxes a year here in Washington than you are in Texas. One caveat to living in the Tacoma area is you can expect to spend about 8% of your income on sales tax. So that is something to take note of when you're looking at moving to Tacoma from Texas. All right, so what about the cost of living when you're looking at moving from a cheaper place like Texas up here to Tacoma? The first shocking factor is that the average home in Tacoma is going to cost about 66% more than it would in the Dallas area. In fact, the overall cost of living in Tacoma is going to be about 16% more expensive than if you were to live in Dallas. Now, obviously, moving from Texas to the West Coast, you can expect things to be a little bit more pricey, but there are some places where you're going to catch a break. One of them is going to be healthcare. Our healthcare systems out here are absolutely incredible. From Kaiser Permanente to UW, seems like there's a hospital on every single corner, and our healthcare and healthcare technology is shining. And that healthcare is going to cost you about 10% less than it would in Texas. Utilities out here are also about 40% cheaper than they are in Texas. Now, Tacoma has a pretty temperate climate, and we're going to dive into that when we get into the weather. But when you factor in that there's not a huge need for things like your air conditioner or your heater all that often, obviously your utility bills are going to be on the decrease. One thing that I love to do still, even after the pandemic, is to go out and go to the movies. So I did a little bit of research. I pulled up and looked at what the cost of seeing Super Mario Brothers would be in Houston. It was $11 a ticket compared to the Cinemark on Point Ruston, which is right on the water, beautiful luxury recliners, great snacks, close to one of the most gorgeous areas, in my opinion, the entire Pacific Northwest, and it was $11. So entertainment is a little bit more interchangeable than Texas and Washington than probably what you would think. In fact, when looking at a lot of the numbers, housing was the big thing that stood out. It appears to be a lot more expensive in Tacoma than in Texas, but everything else sort of was a wash. So is there an offset? Well, when we look at the average income in San Antonio, Texas, for example, it's $68,000 versus Tacoma, it's closer to $90,000. And many people here earn over 100 grand with any time on the job whatsoever. So you might have a little bit more in the cost of living here in Washington versus in Texas, but you're also making a lot more money. And if you're into real estate investing, this is great because you can make West Coast money and then buy yourself a property somewhere in Texas, maybe Florida, maybe South Carolina as an investment. Use that West Coast money to buy stuff in the cheaper areas. Weather is another super important factor to take into account when looking at moving from Texas to Tacoma, Washington. A new client of mine looking at relocating from the Prosper area actually today on a phone call said that Texas is essentially desert with some trees. And I'll tell you, I don't think she's wrong. With temperatures hitting up into the hundreds throughout the summer, you basically know Texas is just gonna be a sauna. And if you're somewhere like Houston, where I was at just a couple of months ago, it was already 90 degrees and I felt like I had to drink the air. That is not gonna be something that you're going to experience here in Tacoma. In fact, our climate typically ranges from about 40 degrees to upwards of 80. There is typically about 5 to 6 inches of snow in the winter. This lasts for just a couple of days. It's not a super big inconvenience. It's nothing scary like if you were to move to North Dakota or Colorado. It's here and then it's gone. In the summer, we do see a few days that will creep into the 90s, and it kind of feels like you can see people melting into the streets here. What I will tell you is on those hot days, make sure when you move here you have a game plan. See, a lot of our homes here do not have air conditioning. Coming from Texas, that's going to be a gigantic shock, but only about a third of the homes in Tacoma are equipped with an air conditioner. So if you do have one of those super odd days, plan on taking it off and going and jumping in the water. But for the most part, you can basically live here with one simple wardrobe, sitting in that very comfortable, temperate climate from 40 to 70. While the sunshine beats the ever-living hell out of you in Texas, there is sort of a changeover here in Tacoma with what I consider the gray. It doesn't rain here as much as people would like you to think in the movies and the TV shows. In fact, it's less than a lot of major cities like places in Hawaii, Miami, Chicago, New York City, Buffalo, New York, and the list just kind of goes on. But the area that does hit a lot of folks is the gray. This is what causes a lot of our seasonal depression out here, and you need to be prepared for how you're going to handle it. So just like you get prepared for those summer months of sweltering heat in Texas, I would say if you're relocating to Tacoma, if you're not someone like me who absolutely enjoys the gray and the overcast, get yourself ready for it, take your vitamin D, buy some UV lamps, and just be ready to rock and roll for those couple of months in the early part of the year that's a little darker. Washington also has some of the best nature. And since you're not dealing with the squelching heat in Texas, you have a lot more of an opportunity to get out and enjoy it. In fact, around here, when the sun is out, we actually say, live like the mountain is out. And Mount Rainier is absolutely stunning. Here's a quick view of it from my neighborhood. It's a 14,000 plus foot volcano. Absolutely stunning to see. Guaranteed you don't have it in Texas. Also, check out places like Olympic National Park. This is at the heart of the stunning Hoh Rainforest. It's got perfect room for picnics, hikes. You can camp the area. There is a ton of beaches out there, stunning rock formations. It's too much. We also have the Cascade Mountain Range, which you can see from pretty much anywhere on the western side of the state. It's kind of the dividing line between the west and the east. Inside of that area, you have beautiful areas like Leavenworth, which are absolutely stunning and incredible to take for mini vacations. There are more lakes, rivers, and hikes than you can ever imagine, which is why Washington in and of itself is one of the healthiest states in the entire country and the #1 state to retire in. So there you have it. Those are some things I think you really need to take into account if you're looking at making a move from Texas to out here in Tacoma. Overall, like I've said a million times before, it's not fair to expect some place that you're going to be exactly like the place that you're coming from. And if it was, then why would we ever move and start life over in the first place? So I hope this video has brought you guys some value. Again, Chris, myself, and the team, we're getting phone calls, text, emails every single day from people just like you who are looking to get out of Texas and land here in Tacoma. And we absolutely love it. So whether you're looking at making that move in 9 days or in 90 days, shoot me a phone call, a text, an email, or set up a Zoom so we can meet in person. And that way we can help you make that smooth move to Tacoma. And until next time, I can't wait till you're out here so I can show you around.